Welcome to the podcast, Michelle. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to finally connect with you.
Yeah, well, it's always magical to sit down and have a conversation with a fellow mompreneur and someone who's also doing what they can to support other mom business owners. You're currently the Chief Visionary Officer and founder of Charp Consulting. So give us a little idea of what you're doing now and how you help mompreneurs.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I started Charp Consulting in 2020. So I was in corporate luxury retail we were just talking about times we graduated from school, but it's been about, over 15 years that I was in corporate luxury retail and worked with some amazing brands, had such an amazing experience growing my skill set and growing brands. And the pandemic happened, and unfortunately, my position was terminated. My team was let go. And, once the initial shock of all of that wore off, I was pregnant with my first child. So once the initial kind of shock of all of that wore off, I was able to kind of just like reflect and be like, you know what, this is kind of like a blessing in disguise for me.
Mm-hmm.
I get to evaluate what's important to me right now, what do I want to do next, and kind of create this new life that's going to accommodate like my life as a mom and the priorities that are important to me, and starting to like fulfill my dreams. If I didn't get let go, I'm not sure if me having a business right now would be something that would be happening, or if it would always have stayed this like distant dream that I thought one day would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So really that's what kind of like kicked it into gears out of this, a little bit of necessity, but also seeing my opportunity to really finally create something for myself that would allow me to be a present mom and to do the work that I really enjoyed to do. So fast forward to today, I primarily support female founders with their marketing and business strategy. And last year, in an effort to reach more people, I launched Sharp Connections, which offers free and low-cost events that serve as both an opportunity for women, like-minded women, to connect with one another and also to learn and feel empowered. Because if there's one thing that I realized once I became, one, a mom, but also two, an entrepreneur, is that I really needed to find my community. Like I needed to find a community and a network of like-minded people because, if you've never run a business, like you might not understand the struggles and challenges that I go through. And so when you can find people that are kind of in it with you and like can be your champion and your cheerleader in times when you really need it, it makes a huge difference. And so I wanted to really help people that were in the trenches with me, dealing with toddlers and growing a business, to feel like that support because I knew I needed it.
Yeah, I love that still 20 or 5 years after the pandemic started, I'm still hearing stories of, although it was a difficult time, so many amazing businesses came out of necessity of that time. And I'm just so glad that something good could come out of that time. And then,
Yeah.
too, that is just why I started this podcast. I knew that there had to be other moms who were struggling to find harmony between business and motherhood. And we have such unique needs and situations that I think only we can understand. So
I know. It's
it's,
unbelievable.
yeah.
And to be honest with you, I mean, I always respected the women that I worked with, period. But also like the women that were moms that I worked with, because I always try to wrap my head around like, how are they doing this? And then now that I'm a mother myself, a working mom myself, I'm like, no, but seriously, how are they doing this? Like, like, we planned to have a child and, we were blessed to have a child. And so that was going to be my plan, was to like work and have my child. And in hindsight, I mean, not having, I mean, like I created this opportunity where I could work from home so I could be with my children and also work. But for all the women who came before me that were not that did not have that luxury of being able to work from home and still don't have that luxury of being able to have that flexible work environment. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
like absolute superheroes. Like I just like I literally don't even have the words.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I completely agree. And then you add the single moms. It's
no,
like I have
yeah,
no idea. So
I
yep.
know. I love being able to like champion support, especially there are so many advocates out there. There are so many amazing women that I follow on LinkedIn who are trying to make changes to like policies and laws and just like make it more affordable and like fair.
Hmm.
I say
Hmm.
that word in quotes, for women that are just like in those positions who, like you say, like single moms who like they have to work and they have
Hmm.
to raise their children, you know? So I always am like a huge advocate for those people who are, you know, making waves in that space because it's
Right.
so necessary.
Yeah, and we live in a time of great access. I mean, it
Mhm.
could be greater, but to the opportunity to grow our businesses and start our businesses. And so I would love to hear your perspective. I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't own a business that doesn't want to grow it and find a way to help make it flourish.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that maybe we don't realize we need to be more intentional about, or maybe with some of the ways that we don't, we miss opportunities to grow our businesses? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah. Okay. So a few thoughts come to mind. I would say I've established things that are like non-negotiables for me. So I have like my priorities, I have my goals, and I think that in the beginning when I launched my business, when there was an opportunity that just came across my desk, I'll say, I would jump on it because I'm like, oh, this is so cool. But that really led to burnout, and that really led to me kind of like
Yep.
you know, having this, yes, of course, like I'm creating this life of work-life balance, but like, am I really living this life of work-life balance?
Yeah.
Because I was just saying yes to everything.
Hmm.
And so I've learned over the past few years that like saying no has to be okay
Hmm.
because just saying no doesn't mean that it's final. Like I'm never going to do this. It just means like right now, this is not aligned with the plans and the goals that I have for myself and for my business. So let's keep in touch. Maybe next year I can plan for that, but I cannot overdo or overextend myself
Hmm.
because then it's I'm having this uneven work-life balance. And so I don't want that. So one is like creating the boundaries and saying no means not right now. Um, Another thing too, I mean, I felt so silly when I had this epiphany, but you know, having worked at large corporations have people, sure, but they also have systems and software. And so I was, you know, just treating myself like I'm a solopreneur and like I'm just gonna, you know, use all these like basic ways of running a business. And it wasn't until it dawned on me that like, no, I also need to have systems in place. Not like I was running the chaotic business, but like having software solutions and things that automated my business and took a lot of time and energy out of me doing these like administrative and mundane tasks. Like that freed up so much of my time where I
Hmm.
could create systems and use software to my advantage. That was a huge return on my investment. Like it does pay for itself. So really treating yourself like the business that it is.
Hmm.
Uh, and lastly, I would say delegation, because I think for anyone that's a business owner, that is your baby, that's your pride and joy. Like you hold everything so close, but there does come a time where if you want to grow, you do have to delegate. So whether that be a system that's automated, that's helping you do something, whether it's a virtual assistant, maybe it's a part-time employee, maybe it's freelancers, those were all things that I fully embraced finally last year,
Hmm.
where you know I'm still able to take the reins of my business and but I'm able to delegate the things that I know like I don't need. There are certain things that I just don't need to do.
Hmm.
I need to focus on the strategy, the sales, growing my business, and I have wonderful people that I trust and systems in place that I know work that can just run on their own. So I'm getting so much more time back in my business so that way I can bring my daughter to school, and I can take time off, and I can, do, something fun with her during the day and show up to family days and do all those things that are important to me. So there are three things that are just like, I feel like so easily overlooked, but
Hmm.
let go of them and you'll see that it's worth it. It's worth it to do those things.
Yeah, like I like to say, mindset shifts are totally free.
Right.
And everything you just suggested is totally free to incorporate in your business, once you're able to bring on staff, but preparing for putting systems in place to delegate, totally free. Like
Right.
doing those things. And so one of the things I thought about as you were talking, do you have any favorite like software tools that you use that you'd like to recommend?
Okay, so there's several that are actually free. So uh project management, I can't even say it. A management tool. I don't know why that's just a tongue twister for me. Um uh has been such a game changer for me. Like I
Mm,
used to just use Excel. I mean, I still use Excel, but
mhm,
you're working with, especially in my space, I have multiple projects that I'm running for my own business, and then I have multiple projects that I'm running for various clients.
mhm,
And so a great project management tool is critical. I've tried so many, and I just personally like Trello. Um,
mhm.
there can be, inexpensive memberships. I am still using the free one, and it serves me
Mhm.
totally fine because I can
Yeah.
have work boards.
Mhm.
Um, assign, myself deadlines.
Mhm.
I can go on,
And you
but
can collaborate and
yes,
all those things. Yeah. I
yes.
love Trello
Um,
too.
amazing. Like I would
Mhm.
definitely utilize that. I think all of us use Canva. I
Mhm.
do pay for Canva just because I appreciate, the extras that it offers. But I
Mhm.
think the affordable one, even if you have a free version, it's still a great tool for just, working on some basic branding things,
Mhm.
communication, like, you know what I mean? Um, those are two that I would say are like top of mind for me right now.
Mhm.
Um, we were just talking about systems and like
Mhm.
kind of delegate. So Loom is another
Mhm.
one I've recently
Mhm.
started to use, where
Yeah.
if I have a procedure in place that I'm like, okay, this is just like super standard. So I'll just
Mhm.
record myself doing it. I'll do a one-time training and then I'll file it away. So that way, if I have a new VA or I have a new person on my team, there's
Mhm.
a directory. So I, again, don't need to spend hours training. I can
Mhm.
just simply show them these videos of how it's done. And of course, if there are questions or if they want me to walk through something more specifically, then I can do the training again and I can record it. But again, like I'm saving time and I don't have
Mhm.
to, have this very time consuming, labor intensive onboarding process every single time I have someone new that's collaborating with me.
Yeah.
Those are a few that are kind of like top of mind for me now, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I love all of those because, we often think we have to do it all and we get connected to this idea that our businesses are an extension of us and we need to see it as something separate. And so I think all of your suggestions really help us do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important. So let's you mentioned branding and using Canva to use that to help with your brand. So what are some things that you wish you could tell fellow mompreneurs about their branding and how they can maybe do it a little bit better, or maybe some things that you wish they understood?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, well, I'll say this. I mean, my experience, like I mentioned before, has been in working with large corporations, predominantly in luxury retail.
Mm-hmm.
And so for so much of my professional life, I was so used to speaking in that corporate brand voice. And so, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. That is like a very niche, there's like a
Right.
certain, way of doing business. And so that's what that's for. And so when I launched my business, because that was my experience, when I
Mm.
launched my business, that was my tone of voice on my website. That was my brand voice. I just kind of
Mm.
adapted that. Um, and not to say that my brand is unprofessional, but I will say that my brand has a lot more personality than maybe a luxury brand does. And
Mhm.
so I felt like because my website and my copy and everything, like even the aesthetic of my website was very kind of like black and white and very minimal. And I have a sense of humor and I like to show my personality. I think that's such a huge part of, especially being a mom entrepreneur, mompreneur.
Mhm.
It's like you have to have humor. Like,
Right.
like so that was so much of my identity that
Mhm.
was coming off in my face-to-face interactions with my clients, but
Mhm.
wasn't coming off on my website and like really any
Mhm.
of my branding. And it wasn't until like probably 2 years in where
Mhm.
I was at a networking event and I was talking to someone about what I was doing. And literally like I had that light bulb moment. Like if it was a cartoon, it would have like the light bulb went off on the top of my head. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, why doesn't my website say that? And I like went through this whole like it's still like look, I'm from New York, so it's black. I have like my main like grayscale, but I'd like to have my pop of colors. I love pop art and I love art, and so
Mhm.
I feel like right now my branding is very reflective of who I am. My
Mhm.
brand colors are black, white, and purple. Like purple is always,
Mhm.
I feel like that's a very creative color. It's always been my favorite color. It was one of my wedding colors, so it's just a very much a part of who I am. So I would
Mhm.
say that, it's really great to look at other people for inspiration, but making sure that your brand is really reflecting who you are as a person. So, like, the way that you talk on your website should be how you talk in person. And like your colors should match like your personal style. So that way it feels like really authentic to you, because what happens is the customers are going to be attracting what you're putting out there. So if you're putting off this persona or this like perception of like who you are, who your company is, people are going to be attracted to that. And then when you kind of get them engaged and then you try to like have a sales call with them and you're not
Mhm.
closing the sale, it's because it's not matching what they thought was going to happen. So the better you can bring your authentic self and your personality to your brand, you will find that there's going to be a shift in the customers that are you're attracting, and you won't really have to sell them anymore. Like I
Mhm.
don't really have to pitch people because I'm just showing who I am. And I'm attracting those people. And when they are engaging with me, it's just a really authentic, it doesn't feel sticky and icky. Like I don't like pitching. Like it's just
Mhm.
weird, comfortable to me. So let your brand do that for you.
Mhm.
And when you're having a conversation, it's just seriously a conversation.
Mhm.
Um, so that's like a lesson learned for me, and that would be like my hugest piece of advice.
Mhm.
So using Canva and using free tools, find the colors that make sense for you and use the ones that like you truly like, not ones that you think would be a great representation of like whatever. Like use what you like,
Right.
and have that kind of be your brand,
Mhm.
have consistency for sure, because you don't want to make every page feel like it's, from something else. Uh,
Mhm.
but let that kind of be your guide,
Mhm.
gravitate or like whatever you're gravitating towards. That's probably what you should go with.
Yeah, I think when you as an entrepreneur break through that barrier of just being comfortable with being who you are and connecting with who you really want to be in service to your clients, it's a huge moment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because we don't realize how much we're stuck in this idea of what we think other people want us to be in conveying our services and our businesses. So
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that because I think it's something that you probably will have to go through at some point in your business.
Yeah. And I also wanted to like, when I went through the whole like branding process too, and everyone talks about like you need your target audience, you need to find your niche. And I had a really, really hard time with that in the beginning because I was like, well, I don't want to exclude anyone. I want to help everybody. You know what
No.
I mean?
Yeah.
But like I'm not for everybody, you know, and I
Right.
think too, like going
Nobody is.
right, like it's true. And that's okay, you know, right?
Yeah.
So going back to what I was saying before about how I kind of had this like corporate speak and I had this kind of corporate vibe. You know, I did have clients that were like that I was attracted and I was working with, but I wasn't always having the greatest experiences with them.
Hmm.
And it's not because they were like mean people or like anything, it wasn't anything like that, but it wasn't work that was like really resonating with me. And then I was
Hmm.
like I was just like so fired up to do, you know?
Mm.
So that was also like a really exciting thing when I had this shift because I was like, oh my God, no, like these are my people. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And so
Right.
when you kind of like when you find that who your target audience is and who your ideal customer is, oh my God, it's
Hmm.
exciting. And it makes it so much easier for like creating content and writing to them and like understanding their problems. Like it's like, I know you because I am you. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? So that's also an exciting thing too, that takes a lot of guesswork out of even simple things like communication. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and then when you get the customers and the clients, you want to make sure that you take care of them well, right? And I think sometimes we focus on the getting of the clients and not the keeping and the strengthening the relationship with the clients. And so I know you have some expertise in that customer experience area. So what are some tips that you can give listeners on how we can strengthen that customer experience?
Yeah. So again, coming from corporate life, I led customer experience teams for some large corporations and even developed teams. And something that is like, I guess like the number one principle is always go above and beyond. So
Mhm.
that's just how I do business. And especially
Mhm.
working with a lot of moms, I understand that life happens.
Mhm.
So if, you know, we were supposed to have something wrap up by a certain time and they're like, hey, like I need to extend this. Like my kid's been sick and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's no problem. Like take care
Mhm.
of them.
Mhm.
And then, like, when you're ready, like, let's reconnect. I'm not going to be like, nope, this is, you know, whatever. Cause like, I get it. Like, I've been there and like
Mhm.
invest money in something. Like, I want to make sure that it's, you know, that you see it through and it's done properly. So if that means that we need to tie up loose ends in like a week or so, yeah, I'm going to do it because I want you to be really happy with the work that we've done. I want to feel proud of the work that we've done. So that we can show off, you know, the great things that we've achieved together. And I want you also to be like a walking testimonial of what it's been like to work with me. If people know that I'm really easy to work with and I do a really good job and I'm efficient and I keep to my word, like those are the best things that I could have any client share about me because that's who I would want to work
Yeah.
with. So I always try to be that person that I would want to work with. And just I mean, I'm human first, like stuff happens, you know? So I would always say go above and beyond. And, you know, sometimes I'll be working on a project and I recognize that like something else is necessary. Um, like something else, like an add-on that maybe like we didn't uncover in the initial scope of work, or maybe it was like they decided it was out of budget, depending on what the relationship is and what the project is, or what like how long the retainer of the project is, I might just be like, you know what, this is just going to move the needle more. Like, I'm just going to do this. Like, I'm not charging you for this, but I know it's going to make a difference. Um,
Mhm.
and just because I really want you to have like the greatest impact. And so I'm just going to do this anyway. Not to say I just give away services for free, but
Mhm.
sometimes there are circumstances where it's like, it's just the right thing to do. And I'm more concerned about the impact that it leaves. Because again, like that's a better reflection for me and like my brand and what we can accomplish for our clients than, you know, me being like stingy on, oh, you didn't have an extra whatever. So no, I mean, no. But that's just me. That's just me personally.
Mhm.
That's probably not going to be something that works or resonates with everyone.
Mhm.
But that is what people remember is how you made them feel. Um,
Mhm.
what it was like working with you.
Mhm.
So I would always keep that in mind. Just like, what would you expect out of someone that you're paying money for, like a service or a project?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I just completely agree with that because I think we sometimes just like in getting the clients, we just focus on, okay, I'm paid for what I'm doing, and you just kind of see it for that, and you don't always think about, maybe I could add some more value. And when you do, that customer or client is going to always think about you again. And
yeah,
so it's much more cost effective to keep the clients you've already gotten than constantly trying to get new ones.
yes,
So having the foresight about that um, really can help you grow your business long term. And
yeah.
so when we're intentional about that, I think it really just is a game changer.
Yeah, yeah. And especially too, like, so I mean, I typically work on retainer for clients.
Hmm.
I I've kind of moved away from like the project model just because it's harder to kind of scale a business when you're set up like that, in my perspective.
Hmm.
But I do have clients that, if they're in the creative field, they might have like a launch or a campaign or a film or like whatever it is where there will be an end to it at some point. But just
Hmm.
because there's an end to it doesn't mean that they're not going to have another product or another film or whatever. And so it's all about just like making that impact,
Hmm.
because when that project or that whatever comes to a close, I want to be like the first, like when they're ready for the next project, is like, oh, I'm going to call Michelle because like she gets me, she's easy to work with, she knows what I need, she did a great job. Like I don't even have to think about it.
Hmm.
Like she's my go-to person,
Hmm.
and so I always want to make sure that I'm that for someone.
Hmm.
That way, like I said, when you have to, if a project comes to an end and you're maybe needing to take on another client, you know that in the future there's a potential for them to come back and work with you.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's it's so important to keep in mind in the whole life cycle of getting and keeping clients. Well, let's talk about how you've managed to build a business while also juggling motherhood and how that's going. I mean, it's constantly evolving and you have children in various age ranges, which I'm sure is a challenge.
That's one word to describe it. Yeah, so our oldest is 17. He's a senior in high school. He's going
Mhm.
to college next year. Then my daughter is 4 and my son is almost 3. So
Mhm.
yeah, needless to say, it's never a dull moment in our house. I don't know how we do it. I really don't know how we do it. What I will say is this, and this is something that I've been a huge advocate for recently, um, is just calendar blocking. Uh,
Mm.
I have my master work calendar that I have all of our personal things blocked off on it, as well as all of my professional things. And so I also try to keep, my calls on 1 or 2 days or mornings. I have Fridays where I don't do calls unless it's like a fire emergency, but I really, really try not to do that. Unless, of course, I'm accommodating a client for something like, yeah, I want to be flexible. Um, but yeah, so I have like certain days set up where it's like my team meetings, like strategy calls, like all that kind of stuff. I have time where I'm doing calls like this, where it's like a podcast, or I'm doing a webinar or a strategy session with a client. And then I know that I work best when I'm doing my creative work in the evening. So a lot of times it's after my kids go to bed, after I put them to
Mhm.
bed, I'll work. And that's I know myself, and I think you need to know yourself for when your peak creative time happens, or when you can be fully engaged for like whatever it is that you need to do. For some people, it might be 5 o'clock in the morning. That is not me. I know that that is not going to be, never going to be me.
Me
But I
neither.
understand. Yeah, like I really admire the people that can get up crazy early and get like a full day's work done before their kids wake up. But that is not me. Um, but I do know that I'm very creative in the evening hours. And I know that I'm not going to have any interruptions. It's
Mhm.
unlikely that my kids will wake up or need me. I won't have anyone calling me. I can just plug into a podcast or whatever and, work on in my Canva, or maybe I'm writing, and that's what I know works for me. So I plan my weeks out in advance as far as I can. Usually it's month by month. I mean, unless it's like I have an event or something, obviously that requires more planning. So, but I'm talking like on a day to day.
Mhm.
I always look at my month ahead. I'm always looking at my week ahead, the night before, the week before, because I want to be set up properly. So because things come up, right? And
Mhm.
so I want to make sure that I have a day or an afternoon where I can catch up on things like my Fridays. That's why I don't like calls on Fridays. I don't typically plan them on Fridays. Because if something happens, like my child gets sick, I get sick, someone needs to reschedule something, I'm not I'm not falling behind on my work. Um, so I like to time block, I like to calendar block. So even if it's my creative work, I'm putting them on my calendar and I'm not booking over it, just as you would not book over time with your boss or a doctor's appointment or whatever it is that's important. I think that your time in growing your business, your self-care is also equally important. So I block those times to make sure that I am trying to keep everything in balance as best as possible. Uh,
Right.
Another thing that I try to block off time for is time with like one-on-one time with my children. So like, yes, I go bring them to school and yes, we do this and that, but I mean like really solid one-on-one time with them is really important, doing something that they enjoy doing. And I think that's really important as a mom because again, that's why I wanted to have a business so I could be present. And that time with them, like family time, really fills my cup. So I need to make sure I get that on a consistent basis because they need it as much as I need it. Uh,
Mhm.
so plan for those things and put it on the calendar. That's just helped me kind of like see straight when I can just see it all laid out how it's supposed to go
Mhm.
and
I
be
love
flexible
that.
when I need to. But yeah,
No, I'm the same way. It's like if I don't get that family time really fills my bucket too. And it makes me feel like I think it helps with the mom guilt, if that
oh,
ever
yeah.
creeps in, you make sure you get that quality time. So when you're working hard, you're like, no, I have had we did all of these things together. So yeah, I think that's super important too.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's hard when you have so many things going on, it's hard to be like everything to everyone.
Mm,
That's why I'm such an advocate for self-care because I mean, as a young mom, like when I was, when my daughter was a newborn and it was really hard for me to ask for help.
hmm
It felt like it was a sign of weakness.
hmm
Learn that it absolutely is not.
Yeah.
And when you don't ask for help, you burn out. And so you're
hmm
not doing anyone any favors. And so
Right.
you can take time for yourself, even if it is 15 minutes, even if it is 20 minutes, like whatever it is, you need that time to recharge because when you have that time to recharge, you can serve your children, your spouse, your family, your business better
hmm
because you had that time to reset. Like we all need that time to reset.
hmm
So again, like you know yourself better than anything and anyone else. Um, so knowing, like, for example, December is like crazy for us, right? Like
Yeah.
a million things are going on,
May and
right?
December, like.
Yeah, like it's so, but I know that's going to be busy. So I
Mhm.
know my priorities during that month are going to be my family, like religious obligations, things that are going to happen at my children's school. Like I just know. So I know that that's not an ideal time for me to be taking on like new business endeavors. Like probably not, right? But
Mhm.
I know that that is a time where I should make sure that I'm carving out time for self-care because it's going to be crazy. People are going to be sick. People are going to be cranky. Like it's just all these things
Mhm.
happen. So I know that while I'm not going to be probably initiating new business ideas, I do want to make sure that I'm carving out time for self-care. So also just kind of like, again, looking at your calendar ahead, if you know that about yourself and you know that about your lifestyle, just think
Yeah.
ahead, because it's easier to plan for those things because they will
Yeah.
happen than try to look back and be like, when's the last time that I had like a pedicure or like, you know what I mean? Like,
And if you're
don't
like
do it
me,
to
you
yourself.
also need that holiday recovery time.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have learned that even into January, it's like this week is I'm just starting to get back.
Oh, me too. Me too. My first few months of January were really like focused on my self development. I've been, listening to different podcasts and webinars and strategizing and doing my vision board, like all these things that I do for me to set myself
Right.
up right. And yeah, so you feel like really confident getting into it. But yeah, I mean, you know yourself best and you can't lie to yourself. Like you
Hmm.
can't.
No, or you're just going to be miserable and resentful. And so, yeah, I'm the same way. I learned early on, like, you just got to clear your calendar in December and May too. It's like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just a crazy time. So you mentioned self-care. I love it when guests share ideas on like what fills their bucket, what helps them reset, even if it's a quiet moment, or walking or something easy like that. Sometimes I think we get stuck in this idea of what self-care could be or should be. And so, yeah, what's that look
I
like for you?
Okay, so if I'm like really gonna treat myself like a pamper, right? I love a pedicure, I love a facial, I love a massage. I feel like facials is more kind of like you're really taking care of your skin. So it's like
Mm,
that's not even like a treat. I feel like that's like a something like you kind of have to have. That's how I see it. But if I don't have time or I don't want to spend the money or like whatever that is, I love coffee. So I feel like even if I'm just making coffee or if I'm trying a new coffee shop or whatever, um, having a coffee, going for a walk, having a coffee and like window shopping. Like I just like love that because I feel like even if I'm just walking around Home Goods or something, I get inspired by what I'm seeing, what people are wearing. I feel like that always inspires, like just walking around
mhm,
stores, I mean, and I'm kind of in that space anyway of just working with a lot of creatives, but I feel like that's really inspiring to see like what's out there, like what's going
mhm,
on, what people are wearing, what are like, how are people styling and things like that. So that serves as inspiration and it kind of like really recharges me.
mhm,
Another thing too is, of course, I need to have like some quiet time to myself where I love to read like a business book or like a self-care book or self-help book, something that helps
mhm,
me learn and think of things in a new way and a new perspective. But honestly, something that I've realized that's been super um, like energizing has been speaking with a woman that is in a similar space as me. So like
yeah.
maybe it's this podcast. I mean, this has been great.
It just like fills my bucket as well. It's like, okay,
Okay.
this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And I'm like, I have a few networking group, like I have one of my own, and then I'm a part of a few other ones, but there's just something about like getting on the phone or like going to a networking event where you're just surrounded by like-minded people, and it's so exciting. Like I just feel like that is what really energizes me because I do have freelancers and I have people that I work with, but I'm most of the time in my head. I'm still like
Mm-hmm.
very much a solopreneur, although I can delegate some things. I don't have a huge team that I can strategize with and do those things with. So I love when I can just connect with people that are like in a similar space as me. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like my daughter's mom, like her Montessori moms, like where we can just like
Mm-hmm.
talk about the kids, or if I have other colleagues that I'm collaborating on projects with and we can talk about like things that we're working on. Like that is so energizing for me, just being around people that get it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Um,
Being an online entrepreneur is definitely can be isolating, and being a parent can be isolating and lonely sometimes. So yeah, I think so.
yeah, so just leaning into your favorite things and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have the budget to really indulge in some of your favorite things like a vacation or whatever that might be, life's simple pleasures are actually something else that I want to start doing this year. I mean, I feel like so many people have been talking about it, but just like a gratitude journal. So
Mm-hmm.
reflecting, and maybe it's not even a journal, maybe it's just like taking a moment to just like reflect on the day and your accomplishments, because
Mhm.
there's so many things, so many wins that we have on a regular basis that I think as ambitious women, high achieving ambitious
Mhm.
women, that we're winning constantly every day, and
Mhm.
we are so quickly dismissing our wins because we're just like on to the next thing, on to this,
Right.
and so it's so easy to just look past the things that we've overcome. So I think just taking some time to kind of catalog your wins, your moments of gratitude, even just reflecting like crazy things your child said, like, it makes you laugh, you know? Um, so like having those moments of reflection, I think are really important. So that way when they're written down and you're feeling like imposter syndrome, or you're feeling like that moment of like things aren't going right, or like whatever, you can actually look back on it and be like, no, I've been doing a lot. Like I've
Right.
actually accomplished a lot in this past week alone. Uh,
Mhm.
so I want to try to incorporate that more this
Yeah.
year.
I think that's a powerful idea. And two, it's like I've read where our brain cannot be in a state of gratitude and a state of anxiety at the same time. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we allow anxiety to take the driver's seat of our business and our lives a lot sometimes. So taking that time to have some gratitude about what is going on and just slowing down, for me, I've just noticed I'm just not going to be in a hurry.
Love that.
I am just gonna take my time. And so I think just giving yourself permission to do that or take the time to reflect on your day is super powerful.
Yeah. And there are days, right, where it's like you're not feeling it. The kids are like whatever, they didn't sleep, or like what, like we all have those things. So it's okay if like you're recognizing that, like, you know what, this is one of those days, and I'm just gonna give myself permission to like get the coffee and go to Home Goods, and know that like tomorrow's a new day, and I'm gonna get caught up tomorrow. Like,
Hmm.
as long as it's not going to be like overly burdensome on yourself, but it's okay, because that's the other thing too, is like when you don't have a boss to like call in sick to, like you're your
Hmm.
boss. I think a lot of times it's hard to be like, no, I really got to do this again. But it's like, well, if these were your tasks and you like
Hmm.
reported to someone else and you really were feeling the way that you were feeling, like you're really under the weather, or your child was sick and like really needed you, if it was, you know, if you were reporting to someone else, like what would you do in that situation? Would you probably need to be like, you know what, I can't commit 100% to work today, and I just need to like take the day to just focus on this because my family or myself, my own health is really important. Um, and I'll see you tomorrow. Like
Hmm.
we do that. And so I think it's
Hmm.
okay, like when we need to recognize that we need to do that in our own business too,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
we have unlimited PTO now. Like we don't need to
Yeah.
worry about our time off policy.
Well, yeah, and
Good
as
job.
moms, yeah, and as moms, I think it's super powerful that our children get to see that and model that behavior for them. So many kids pressuring themselves to do so much at an early age, and I have a senior too, and I think they feel pressured to figure their life out at 17, and
Yeah.
we can be there to go, "Oh, it's okay."
Yeah. And I love that. I love that so
Mhm.
much. And I love that you're modeling that for your child, because it is really rewarding to be like, you don't have to panic because like I'm still figuring it out too.
Right, we all are.
It's out
Right.
together. Yeah.
Hot
Yeah.
take, we're all still trying to
We're
figure
all
it out
figuring it out.
one way or another. I love it,
Yeah.
Michelle. It's been so great hearing your story and how
Oh,
you're
thank
helping
you.
other mompreneurs and sharing your perspective and your expertise. If you wanted to leave moms listening with a takeaway or a few takeaways, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. Um, I would say, because we're in January, I'm in this theme of like goal setting. I've been having these conversations with everyone lately. So I guess because that's where my brain is at right now, I would say if you haven't established goals for yourself this year, use SMART goals for sure. And if you're not familiar with that, I have like a million webinars where I talk about it. But use SMART goals, use them for not only your professional goals, but also your personal goals. and make sure that they're in alignment. If you're in a position right now where maybe you're not an entrepreneur and you're an aspiring entrepreneur, and that's you're like not sure of like how it's going to pan out, like make those goals. Make those goals for your personal life and your professional life, and then they will overlap, and that's when you'll know that like you're heading in the right direction. Make those goals. And if your goals feel really daunting, they feel really big, they should, like, that's really good, you know. But if they feel so big where you don't know where to start, zoom out, see how you can take baby steps. Maybe you need to make your deadline a little bit longer if possible. But it's possible. Like if that's your dream, you weren't given that dream for no reason. Just figure out a way to make them more actionable. Reach out to me too. Like I'm always happy to jump on a call with people that are feeling like a little stuck and confused. Please reach out to me. But no matter what, just start. Like don't let imposter syndrome, don't let your perfectionism, like whatever it is, hold you back, because there are a million ways that you can just start, you know. But start with your goals, find those steps. If you're stuck, find a support system, call someone that is like-minded, that understands what you're going through, that can help you move you forward. Just start.
Yeah.
Go get it.
I love that. And you mentioned giving you a call. Where can listeners connect with you and learn more?
Sure. Yeah. So I am on LinkedIn. My name is how it's spelled, Michelle Charpentier. My business is Charp Consulting. So it's like my last name, CHARP consulting.com. So you can always find my calendar on there, book time for me too. But if you want to just send me a DM or something on LinkedIn, I'm always happy to chat and connect.
Yeah.
I post things regularly on LinkedIn too that hopefully help other women like us. Just follow along for some tips and tricks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
Happy to connect.
Thank you for being so generous with your time and your wisdom and your experience. And it's really, if anybody is out there and hasn't found their community or feeling like they're doing this alone, I mean, this podcast is a testament to how generous mom entrepreneurs are and really want to help and support one another. So thank you for being an example of that.
Oh, and thank you for doing this. Like you're providing this amazing resource and platform for
thanks.
this is exactly why I wanted to come and support it, because we need more voices like this to let people know that it's possible and you're not in this alone. Like it takes a village.
It sure does. And I don't think we're meant to. Somewhere along the line, we kind of agreed or have this idea that we're supposed to. That's what makes us great. But really, our network, our connections, our, the community that we're a part of, what really makes us strong. And so, thanks so much for being a part of the podcast and being here today. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.